Right here I have the new version of the Yi series from YJ. Yi series as in Yupo, Yulong, Yuchuang, and there's supposedly a Yisu 4x4 that's supposed to come out, but we don't have it at this point in time, but we're likely to have it in the future. Okay, I don't really play 2x2 at all, so I won't have much opinion on these events, but I would say that this cube is quite a stable cube. Doesn't corner cut that much. I would say it's quite stable, quite controllable. And it does feel like really small in my hands. I'm not really comfortable with this size, but probably because I'm not used to even handling a 2x2 at all. Okay, so for the 3x3, this is the Yulong v2M. I would say this cube is quite fast, not the fastest cube compared to like the Yulong WRM, the Meilong, and the Dayan Teng Yin. I think these three are going to be faster. But right now, I would say that even though this cube is really tight out the box and it does feel a little bit restrictive to turn, it actually can corner cut quite decently. Maybe the reverse isn't. Actually, the reverse is quite good actually. Yeah, this cube is definitely quite nice to use. I wouldn't say it's super smooth, but partially because they really have lots of tracks inside the cube. As in terms of plastic, rubbing against plastic and that kind of texture, there's a lot of other options that I would likely prefer over this, but in terms of like just how stable a cube is, how fast the cube is, and how well it corner cuts, and whether it's viable for a competition, I would say that this cube is actually very good. Lastly, I have the Yuchuang M, and unlike the original version of the Yuchuang, which came out like I think maybe in 2016, this one actually has wider outer layers. While the original version was purely proportional, and that one, the original Yuchuang can actually get a deforming lockup very easily, but this one is, I really had to pull it down quite hard just to get that to happen. And thus, the inner layer does feel a little bit tight out of the box, but otherwise this cube is actually quite nice. But what's even nicer is the outer layer. It's actually really fast and really stable, and it actually reminds me a lot of the Yuchuang GTS, like this cube in general, except that it doesn't corner cut as much and it's not as fast. But like from a budget perspective, I think like in my Little Magic V5 versus Yuchuang GTS review, I did say that the Little Magic is like kind of like a budget version of the Yuchuang GTS. This one, it will be an alternative budget version of the Yuchuang GTS. So I did decide to pull out both the Yuchuang GTS and the Little Magic to compare them with, and like the magnetic cubes are actually attracting each other. That's quite interesting. But okay, I would say that this one is kind of in between the two. So in terms of speed, I would actually say that all three of them are very comparable to each other. But then when it comes to like, the actual weight, the Little Magic does have thinner plastic, and the turning does feel a bit lighter, like you're turning through less mass compared to the other two. But it also means that the plastic also does feel a bit lower quality. For the Yuchuang and Yuchuang, the plastic does feel a little bit thicker, and also a lot, and it does feel a bit more premium. Then of course, since the Yuchuang GTS is not exactly a budget cube, so it's definitely the smoothest turning one out of the three of them, and has the highest quality plastic. For these two, I can actually feel a little bit of sandiness inside the cube, because after all, they're meant to be budget cubes. Okay, the next thing I would want to compare would be the stability. So Yuchuang, obviously the most stable one. This cube is like the gold standard. But I would say the Yuchuang actually, in terms of how much it flexes, is more comparable. Whereas this one feels like it's a little bit more flimsy. Well, in terms of getting the deforming lockups, which is impossible here, this one can actually get it a bit more easily, while this one I have to do a lot of like crazy manipulation just to get one, and right now it's not even happening. So yeah, I would say it's probably very close to impossible as well. Apart from that, I would say that I would still say the Yuchuang GTS is the best 5x5 on the market, but it's really the premium cube. But when it comes to the two budget cubes, I think these two can settle for second and third best 5x5, and as well as the top two best budget cubes right now. As well as, I actually can't really decide whether I like the Little Magic better or the Yuchuang a bit better. Right now, I would actually go for the Yuchuang over the Little Magic, but it depends on how this cube performs after being set up as well. But I've only just taken this cube out of the box. One I've tried and experimented a bit for quite a while already, and so same can be said for this.